Meanwhile, across the Atlantic, White House hopeful Donald Trump has likened himself to Nelson Mandela, whilst railing against his criminal charges at a campaign rally.
I don't mind being Nelson Mandela because I'm doing it for a reason. I'm doing it for a reason. Doing it for a reason. We got to save our country from these fascists, these lunatics that we're dealing with. They're horrible people and they're destroying our country.
Nelson Mandela, the former South African president, spent 27 years in prison for opposing apartheid rule. Donald Trump, meanwhile, has been indicted for making hush money payments to a porn star, hoarding classified documents at his Mar-a-Lago mansion, illegally trying to overturn his 2020 presidential defeat, and election interference in the state of Georgia. The Republican frontrunner claims he is being personally targeted by prosecutors and insists President Joe Biden is behind the charges. I just would like to add that it seems that Donald Trump's delusion and his audacity knows no grounds. I mean, I don't mind being Nelson Mandela. I mean, I hate to state the obvious, but you are not Nelson Mandela.
You have to go a bit darker with the tan.
First, don't even. And like comparing yourself to someone who was jailed for fighting against apartheid is not the same as you potentially, perhaps, going to jail for paying hush money to a porn star.
But it's
not the same.
But it's Trump.
It's not the same.
Usually so reasonable. It's so unlike him to go over the top.
Good point.
At the end of the
91
day,
indictments against him.
At the end of the day,
they're not going to indict him anymore because every time they indict him, his popularity goes up.
Yeah.
And you be a bit more respectful. That's the next president of the United States of America you're talking about.
Unfortunately, you're probably right.
Kevin's right. Kevin is right. Like, this is Trump. When I heard he said that Mandela thing, I was like, I'm surprised his supporters know who Nelson Mandela is.
That's a good point, actually.
He knows who Nelson Mandela is.
That's a very good
I think he thinks it's Idris Elba in the movie. That's
yeah.
that black guy.
I met him. Nice man.
Yeah. But two, this is exactly what I expect from Donald Trump. And it's working because we're talking about him. But he says absurd things and people are entertained by it. I'm actually entertained by him.
He's very entertaining.
He knows how to suck the oxygen out of a room. Look, I know this is not...
I don't agree. I think he's brilliant at it.
No, I mean,
he doesn't suck the oxygen out. He provides the oxygen.
But the thing is, he sucks the oxygen out for everyone else. Right? We're not talking about the other Republican candidates.
Exactly.
It is just about Trump. And listen, he's using it to the best that he can. I think the bigger question here is, why Nelson Mandela? Like, there's literally anyone else in history
because Nelson Mandela was indicted as well and spent 27 years.
But I think
so he's saying that he's a political hero who's being legally persecuted.
It's about somebody who was in jail, who was wrong.
He's being legally persecuted.
I just think the man should have some peace now that he's passed on.
Mandela?
No. Yes, exactly.
Mandela.
I just think having a name done by President Trump
cool
is
with
just...
it. Don't worry about it.
You know, I come back to the sad note about the fact that nowadays it just seems that you can say pretty much anything and it doesn't really...
And
it doesn't...
does.
That's what I mean. But it's not just about him, though, is it? I mean, it's now pretty much anybody. Anybody just throws out a sentence and says something. And even if you can pile on and say, no, this is not true. This is true, this is true, this is true. And they go, no, that's not true. It's true, it's false, this false news, all this sort of thing. And it's the depressing part about working in truth, where you're going...
You try saying that you have doubts whether or not mankind is responsible for climate change. Anything can happen.
You could have water poured on you.
Yeah, there's just floods in the studio. Can you imagine?
I know. Oh, my gosh. Yeah, open the floodgates of heaven.